Shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Waharakah Kwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And let me say this, man. We don't do the multitude of sit-downs and breakdowns that we do for a joke. We do these videos so that you may be edified and equipped, furnished in the word, that you may stand against the wiles of the devil, that your faith and your defense of the gospel may be strong. You know, you seen these brews from Brixton, how they went out there and embarrassed themselves. And, you know, they might feel some kind of way because I'm saying that they need to be watching the sit-downs. But they do. And it was evident that it was necessary for them to be edified in such a way. And I would prefer they humble themselves to that fact rather than take it as a disrespect or slight. It's not personal, brothers. It just is what it is, man. You man were looking hella unseasoned out there. Now, that goofy vocab Malone dared to bring out Galatians, the 3rd chapter, and we've already dismantled this whole idea of, you know, any and anyone, regardless of your nationality, according to seed, can become an Israelite through Abraham. That's been dismantled. You brothers should have been watching the sit-downs, man. Then you would have been ready for him. Because, okay, straight off the bat, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a letter written to the Galatians. Now, Paul was writing to the Galatians, right? We all know that Paul was martyred. Peter also wrote to the Galatians in his stead. All right? So all you got to do is go to the book of Peter's. And if you read the book of Peter's, it's clearly identifying these churches, these gatherings, these congregations as being Israelites. All right, this is 1 Peter's 1:1. Peter, an apostle of Yahweh Shai Mashiach, to the strangers scattered. Now that's the first clue. The word there for scattered is diaspora, which is the Israelites scattered. Right, John 7:35. Where will he go? We will not find him. Will he go to the dispersed, the diaspora among the Hellene, and teach the Hellene? Because the scholars at the time, the Pharisees, the Israelites knew that there were Israelites, even Jews, who had Hellenized themselves and become reckoned among the heathen, among the Greeks. And that's something that vocab Malone and these goofy Christians, that context is what they want to ignore. That the Jews of Judea, while they were the remainder and the remnant of Israel in any form of organization at the time, right? Because remember, the northern kingdom had left the land, right? And then you had the kingdom of Judah, and then the kingdom of Judah was conquered and reduced to a remnant residing in what was known as Judea, which was a Roman province. But that was the remnant of Israel that remained, the Jews. But if you understand that they were Israelites that were outside of that commonwealth, that were outcasts, even Jews, because you go back to the time in the Maccabees, they made themselves into Greeks. They took upon themselves Greek fashions, Greek names. For all intensive purposes, they became Greeks, and they were living in Asia Minor. And there was a partition between them, being the uncircumcised, and the circumcision, which were the Jews who retained their identity, retained their culture, who were citizens of Judea. This is historical fact. So when you hear the scriptures talking about Gentiles that are being delivered, these are who is talking about, the Israelites scattered among the Gentiles. But you got to read the scriptures, and you have to understand context, and you have to understand prophecy. You have to understand the narrative of the Bible. Otherwise, you're gonna get caught out. So it says to the strangers, which the word there, when you look it up for stranger, it means someone who's living in a land that doesn't belong to them. Because they are Israelites, but they're living outside of the land, among the heathen, scattered throughout where? Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. Elect according to the foreknowledge of God through the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit. That's the promise of the Spirit. And who was the sanctification promised to? All you got to do is go to Ezekiel 37 and Ezekiel 36, and it will tell you quite clear. Hold on, Taras. Let's get that, because man think this is a joke. This is not a joke. And the reason I could break this down, well, firstly, I was taught by my apostles and elders, and secondly, we've broken this down a million times. It's like I know these precepts off the back of my head. I know the breakdown. So this is why men like me are equipped to deal with them guys when they come with these questions. You guys that's not equipped need to be watching the sit downs, man. And it's not to belittle you, because you belittled yourself when you refuse to study and take heed unto wise counsel. All right. Ezekiel 37 and 28. This is part of the promise. And the heathen, which is the other nations, shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. And that goes right into Revelation, the 21st chapter. What does the scripture say? Sanctify them through thy word is truth. The sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth. This is for Israel. The gospel and the belief in the gospel is only for Israel. The faith is for Israel. And when it says Israel, he wasn't talking about no political group or no religion. He's talking about the actual seed of Israel, the elect, the chosen ones, the seed. That's why it's talking about children and children's children. It's a physical thing. But that man want to play games. All right. The promise was the Lord was going to sanctify Israel. All right, let's go back to 1 Peter's. I wanted to try and keep this short, but I don't think that's possible, because right now, the way the Spirit's got me feeling, I got to go all the way in. We'll see how it goes. Says verse 2, it says, elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father, through the sanctification of the Spirit unto obedience and the sprinkling of the blood of Hamashiach. That's the redemption. The blood of Yahushua is bringing the redemption of sins, and also the new covenant, which is with Israel. Grace unto you and peace be multiplied. All right. Now, again, when you go into, there we go. The scholars, right, says, was 1 Peter written to Jews or Gentiles? You see? And you see, this is where they get confused, you see, because what they don't understand is these Gentiles were Jews. It was written to Gentiles, meaning those scattered among the Gentiles. But their nationality, according to their seed, was Jews. And that's why Peter spoke to them the way he did. Now, I'm going to show you something. And that's why I told you, man, you man have got this man talking about One West. Let's talk about Calvin, because Vocab Malone is a Calvinist, is he not? All right then. Well, if Vocab Malone is a Calvinist, where is it? Let's get what John Calvin had to say. Where is it? Did I scroll past John Calvin? There we go. It says, scholars have long been divided over the question of 1 Peter's intended audience, but it seems the majority of classical interpreters took the phrase exiles dispersed abroad at face value, seeing a Jewish audience to be in view. John Calvin is... you see, Vocab Malone, that's his spiritual father. Vocab Malone said he's a Calvinist. John Calvin is a good representative when he writes in the commentary on 1 Peter They who think that all the godly are thus called because they are strangers in the world and are advancing towards the celestial country are much mistaken, and this mistake is evident from the word dispersion, which immediately follows, for this can only apply only to the Jews. So what's Calvin admitting here? That First Peter's only applies to Jews, but who was First Peter's written to? The church at Galatia, the Gentiles at Galatia, in the churches in Asia Minor. So that's the first thing you need to understand. That when you're reading the book of Galatians, these are Gentiles, but more specifically, they're Israelites who were living among the Gentiles, who were separated and outcasted from their people, right? But they were being brought back in through Yahweh Shai, not by the law, but through faith in Yahweh Shai, where they're being redeemed and brought back into the fold. This is why when we go to Galatians 3 and 13, this is called reading comprehension. Yahweh Shai hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us, for it is written, cursed is every one that hangeth on a tree. Now, how can the Galatians be redeemed from the curse of the law? Because they're Israelites. Only Israelites are under the curse of the law. Despite what vocab tries to convince you. Oh, the yoke of iron. Bro, only the Israelites made a covenant with the Lord. So only the Israelites were under the curse of the law, which is part of the covenant. And Daniel confirmed this in Daniel's the 9th chapter. Let's not play no games. Listen. Anyway, it says that the blessing of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Yahweh Shai Mashiach. Now, why is it saying this? That we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. Why is he saying this? Because the blessing of Abraham was that his seed would be blessed. And that seed is Jacob and his descendants. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Paul breaks down, let's go down, understand the narrative of the Bible. Brethren, I speak after the manner of men, though it be but a man's covenant. Yet if it be confirmed, no man disannulleth or addeth thereunto. The Lord, in Genesis 17 chapter, made a covenant with Abraham concerning his seed, and that seed was physical. That seed was Isaac and then Jacob and their descendants. That is the consistent narrative in the Bible. If you hold on. There we go. Isaiah 41 and 8. But thou, Israel, art my servant, Jacob, whom I have chosen, the seed of Abraham, my friend. Yahweh Shai even confirmed that the Pharisees were Abraham's seed. Of course they were, in the flesh. Right? But there's more. You need to fulfill in the spirit as well. You need to be of faith. Hold on. Let's see if I can get that. Right? That John 8 and 33 said, Then answered him, we be Abraham's seed, and we have never in bondage for any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free? So they were boasting in being of the seed of Abraham. But the Lord cut them, because he says, look, John 8:37, I know that ye are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me, because my word have no place in you. Right? So let's go back to Galatians 3. The Lord knew these. When you understand and you read, go back and read John 8 chapter. The Lord wasn't saying they weren't Abraham's seed. They are, but they weren't fulfilling the spirit of Abraham, and that's why they were rejected. All right, but it's still about that physical seed. That's why it says, as many as would what? Believe on him, them gave he power to become the sons of God. There are Israelites that's not going to believe, and so they're going to be destroyed. But the ones of the Israelites that do believe in faith are going to be delivered and sanctified as promised. That's Abraham's seed. Right? Now, let's go back into the covenants and understand. It says, now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. All the promises, that's why they call him the fathers of the promise, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He said, not to seeds as of many, but as of one, and to thy seed, which is Hamashiach. And this I say, that the covenant that was confirmed before of God in Christ, the law which was 430 years after, cannot disannul that it should make the promise of none effect. What does that mean? I'll explain what it means. Israel is the chosen people. Therefore, the Lord had already made a promise to Abraham to bless Israel. When Israel came out of Egypt, the Lord made a covenant with them, and within that covenant contained the blessings which were promised through Abraham. But on the flip side, those blessings would only come if they kept the law. If they didn't keep the law, they would receive curses. Now, we couldn't keep the law. Now, because we couldn't keep the law, does that mean now that the Lord cannot fulfill his promise to Abraham? No, because the Lord's going to keep his promise. So how is he going to keep his promise to that seed? Well, he's going to do what he did with the Messiah. For if the inheritance be of the law, it is no more of promise, but God gave it to Abraham by promise. Wherefore then serveth the law? It was added because of transgressions, till the seed should, to the seed, what seed? Jacob. Till the seed should come to whom the promise was made, and it was ordained by angels in the hand of a mediator. Now a mediator is not a mediator of one, but God is one. Is the law then against the promises of God? God forbid. For if there had been a law given which could have given life, verily righteousness should have been by the law. All of this, what it's talking about, has nothing to do with the other nations. This is all Israelite business, because Israel is the one that made a covenant by the law. But the scripture have concluded all under sin, all Israel, both the outcasts and the ones that were still part of the commonwealth in Judea, that the promise by faith of Hamashiach might be given to them that believe. To who that believe? Of the seed. To the seed. Who's the seed? The Israelites. And at that time, that represented the Israelites that were scattered among the Gentiles and the Israelites that were in Judea who were being called Jews. It has nothing to do with the actual other nations. But you see, this guy doesn't understand the scriptures. They don't understand the scriptures. And this is why they're getting messed up. Abraham already told the Israelites about... Moses already told the Israelites that they would get the blessings and the curses and have to return and be circumcised in the heart. That's all that's happening. It's the same people. This is why when you go to Isaiah the 11th chapter, right, it talks about what? And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, the Israelites, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam. These are all Gentile nations, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign. Another word for ensign is the light for the nations, which is this word. This word is a light that we're shining among the nations for the elect to see and come back to. And shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, see, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. And that's what this ministry is all about. It's not about turning actual heathens into Israelites through faith. That's not what he was talking about. It's the Gentiles or the heathen that are being justified through faith are the Israelites that scattered among the heathen that it speaks about in Isaiah the 11th chapter. That's why it tells you in the book of Hosea that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said, thou art the sons of the living God. It's all about the Israelites, baby. All right. Now, I wanted to... We could go further in. What was the purpose of sending the Messiah to save Israel? Luke 1 and 68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up a horn of salvation for us, the Israelites, in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, that's the promises which have been since the world began, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers. So it wasn't promised to everyone, it was promised to their fathers. There's a direct lineage and connection to these promises. Not everyone's, this promises wasn't promised to everybody's fathers. The lineage matters. The genealogy does matter. Now, are you going to have hard proof of your genealogy? No, you don't need it. The Lord is seeking out his people through the Spirit. And that's something that the carnal man like vocab can't understand. All right? And to remember his holy covenant, the oath which he swore to our father Abraham, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, just like in Egypt. Who did the Lord deliver from Egypt? His people, the Israelites. Oh wait, what about the mixed multitude? The mixed multitude were servants. They were numbered with the cattle, and the Lord never made a covenant with them. The mixed multitude is like mentioned like once and never again, because the Lord wasn't dealing with them. They never had an inheritance. Oops. The Lord went to save his people, Israel. The Lord said he put his love upon Israel because of their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It matters. Your lineage matters. Your seed matters. You must be of Israel to even be eligible. But then you got to be of the elect, according to the foreknowledge of the Lord. And that's why the scriptures speak about there being an Israel of God. There are elect, a remnant of Israel that is chosen by God for salvation in these last days. This is the narrative of the Bible. It's got nothing to do with generalizations and universalizations and mankind and all this foolishness that these men are chatting about. That's not the narrative of the Bible. But that's why the scriptures says about Paul. Let's get that in Peter's. 2 Peter 3:15, and account that the long suffering of the Lord is salvation, even as our beloved brother Paul also, according to the wisdom given unto him, hath written unto you, as also in all his epistles, speaking in them of things in which are some things hard to be understood. Right? If you don't know the scriptures, you don't understand the prophecies, if you don't understand context and history, then you might get messed up. Oh, so it says Gentiles. Yes, because you don't understand the context, my man. You need to understand the context. You need to know the precepts, the narrative of the Bible, and then it makes sense. Then everything fits into place, right? Which they that are unlearned and unstable, and I'm going to prove that vocab Malone is unstable, as they rest, as they do also the other scriptures onto their own destruction. Now, let me talk about this guy vocab a little bit. This man vocab Malone is suffering from what you call double think, and double think is the acceptance of contrary opinions or beliefs at the same time, especially as a result of political indoctrination. But I'm focusing on the acceptance of contrary opinions. Now, what's the contrary opinions that vocab Malone holds? Now, this is the first opinion, and you see, if we were dealing with him, the minute he said this, then I told you, we're going to have to go into replacement theology. We're going to have to talk about Zionism, and it's going to get real sticky for him. It's going to get real sticky, icky. Ooh, wait. Listen to this now.
Who are the Israelites? Who are the Israelites?
Israelites are the Christians.
So you're Israelite?
That's right.
Right, so his doctrine is what's known as replacement theology or covenant theology. Right, so his doctrine is what's known as replacement theology or covenant theology, which is considered to be anti-Zionist and also anti-Semitic. And he only backs it out when he's dealing with the Israelites. When he has his so-called Jew friends on his show or he's dealing with them, he never mentions it because he knows it's anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist, and he actually supports Zionism. This is crazy. All right, so this is
watching
him.
The fourth installment.
You can go
vocab
watch the
Malone's
video
smoke room.
here where he's defending his stance on replacement theology. But then you watch this video, you see that he's for Zionism. All right?
Excellent. Shout out to everyone.
Because make no mistake, he knows exactly what Zionism is. He trying to beat around the bush and play games. He knows that, because how can you study all that information on One West? So you know everything about the Hebrew Israelites, but you're telling me you don't know anything about Zionism, what it is. This Israeli state exists because it was pushed by atheistic Zionists who used the Bible and the prophecies in the Bible to justify them going back over there and stealing the land from the Palestinians to establish the Israeli state through the Balfour Agreement and also through the Nakba and all other violent attacks they've done, ousting people from their houses and lands. He knows this. He knows that all of this whole thing is built upon Zionism. He knows this. He knows exactly what Zionism is. Or if it's the means, the existence of the Israeli state, bro, the whole idea of having the Israeli state is based upon the Jews being the rightful owners and inheritors of the land of Israel, which is based upon them being the people of the covenant. Now, if they are no longer the people of the covenant and they are Christians, that would mean that the Christians are the rightful heirs and inheritors of the land of Israel. And hence why replacement theology was used and blamed for the Crusades and for much Jewish persecution, which is why it is, you could look it up, type it in, replacement theology is considered to be anti-Semitic and anti-Zionism. And he believes in both. So he's a double-minded man. And then he tries to hide it when it comes to them. But with us, he shows himself.
Live chat, see a number of people still coming in. I hope you guys appreciate the conversation. Dumasani, I have linked the link for his book in the top of the live chat, so you can actually get that. And it's also the link to his website, so you can go there. Right now, 47% of the live chat says no, they are not a Zionist. But hold on, I need to look at the full data. 21% say yes. 46% say no. 32% say not sure. If I was taking the poll, I almost might hit that one myself because it would depend how.
Oh, bullshit. I'm not sure. It would depend on what your definition of Zionism is. Bro, stop playing games, man.
Someone would define it. It'd be.
Listen very close to what he says. Now, he took a poll on his live stream and asked whether or not the audience was Zionist. He's going to make the statement that he's agnostic whether or not he's a Zionist. All right? And we know what a Zionist is,
Yeah, he's pleading the fifth. If you believe in replacement theology, there is no form of Zionism that you should support, because Zionism is support. That's why it's called Zionism. You are saying that because we are the Israelites, we have a right to this land. That's what Zionism is. We have a right to the land because why couldn't they set up the Israeli state in America? Why couldn't they set up why did the Israeli state had to be set up in that land? Because they're saying that because they're the Israelites, they have a right to that land. Because it's their ancestral land and God promised it to them, even though they were atheists. He's trying to play defense. But he supports Zionism. He supports the JOOs. We've seen it when he's had these people on his show. But at the same time, he believes in replacement theology. If you believe in replacement theology, the answer to the question should always be no. But you see what's going on.
For the small-headers to enter into the land by the Balfour Agreement in 1948. Okay? Listen to what vocab Malone says. Listen very closely, Akel.
Tough, but I knew that, but it's only so much you can do in a little poll like this. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to have you define Zionism, because if it is as simple as Israel has a right to exist, Israel has a right to defend itself, Israel is a Jewish homeland, if it's, say, those three things, then I guess by that definition I'd be a Zionist.
Well, based upon replacement theology, it's not their homeland. It was only their homeland while they was under the covenant, wasn't it? See what I mean? He's trying to play the game. And then, so that's why if you watch his live stream after October 7th, when he brought them JOOs onto his live stream, you go to his channel. Right, so if you go back to around this time period here, right? When 7 months ago, when he was bringing all these JOOs, like Rabbi Moshe, yeah, on his show, he specifically said we are not going to discuss 1948 and prophecy. He said that. He said we are not going to discuss prophecy, because the reason he don't want to discuss prophecy is because if he starts engaging in that conversation, his doublethink will explode, because on one hand, his guest is going to use those scriptures to justify them being in the land, but as someone who pushes replacement theology, he would have to say, well, hold on, that's not talking about you, that's talking about the church. And that's why he completely avoided speaking about the prophecy, because you cannot support Zionism and replacement theology at the same time. That's a paradox. But he tries to play both sides of the fence, because he's a demon. But when it comes to us, you know he ain't gonna give us that leeway. He's a demon. Uncle Demon. Alright? Now, this is from a website from these JOOs, the Shema Congregation, Shema Israel, right? Here Israel's. It says, replacement theology encourages anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. Anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism are growing around the world. The tiny nation of Israel, surrounded by a sea of anti-Israel sentiment, continues to be in the headlines and cast in a very controversial light. Ask almost any group of people, how do you feel about Israel? And you are sure to get lots of opinions. Hey, listen, you man are down bad right now, Star. You're down all the way bad, like, damn. Getting exposed in the earth. Anyway, some very strongly against this special land and people. Well, hold on. According to replacement theology, you're not a special people no more. Replacement theology contributes to this hostility towards the JOO-ish people and the nation of Israel. There is little doubt that in the past, replacement theology was driven by anti-Semitism and was used as theological justification for additional anti-Semitism. For extensive documentation on Christian anti-Semitism and its horrible consequences, we recommend The Anguish of the JOOs by Edward Flannery, blah, 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 blah. And undoubtedly, some of today's anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism continues to be supported by replacement theology. All right? Which vocab believes in, especially when it comes to the Israelites. That's his main thing. Well, it doesn't matter. You can't be the Israelites because the church is Israel. You heard him say it. But he doesn't say that when he's got them JOOs on his show. He's pro-Zionist. Well, if it means Israel has the right to exist, yeah, but why does it exist? Why does it have a right to exist? How was it created? What's the Nakba? Oh, yeah, that's just fake. No, one West on this day in this hour. High priest Avriel said this, and he ate this for breakfast. You know all of that. You could write a book on it, but you don't know about all the atrocities these men committed in the name of Zionism. You don't know that, do you? So that's not something that you should be against now. You dirty blood clot. That's what you are, man. A hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. And you see what he was doing in that video with that black Jake, pretending he didn't know what the definition of Zionism and he's not sure and all this stuff. He was being deceitful. He was tailoring his answer as to avoid conflict. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up, you will never see us, right? If something is against our doctrine, we ain't going to cap. We're just going to say straight up, nah, we don't support that. We're not with that. We're not going to cap and change up the game. That's deceitful. But vocab Malone changes energy. He's a hypocrite. He'll act one way, to this people and a different way to another people. He doesn't have principles that he actually stands on, except his hatred for the Hebrew Israelites and his love of the system of Edomite supremacy. Otherwise, he would have the same energy for them JOOs and all the killing and everything they're doing over there that he has for us, but he doesn't, because he ain't standing on principle. Job 15:35, they conceive mischief and bring forth vanity, and their belly prepareth deceit. Oh, I don't know. What's your definition? Like he don't know what it is. It's being deceitful, because you don't want to have to face that contradiction. But you come up to the camp, you're gonna have to face that contradiction. We're gonna ask you some questions. Oh. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.